We are 3 or 4 days away from Hurricane Florence making landfall. I'm in Central Virginia. Here's the vision of daybreak from my front porch. You know the saying, red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. It's looking pretty red up there to me. Well, if the biggest hurricane to hit the East Coast in 65 years is on the way, you wouldn't know it by looking at these guys. Still early morning here on the homestead, and here's a view from where we are from another angle. Red skies in the morning, beautiful deer feeding here at the edge of the field. 3 or 4 days away from Hurricane Florence making landfall. Good morning, guys. Welcome to the morning ramble. If you look behind me here, those deer I just showed you are right there, and right there, and I think there's a fourth in the woods. I was heading up to where we do our ramble spot every morning, and I got a shot of those deer down at the bottom of the hill there before I walked up, but as I walked up through this field to go up to that one, they just kind of followed me up. They're up there staring at me. They're eating something. I figured they're getting ready for this Hurricane Florence just as much as I am. So if there's something up there they like to eat, they need to store those calories. So I'm just going to let them stand up there and eat it. If we see them leave here while I'm talking over the next several minutes, I might walk up there and have a seat. But for now, I'll just kneel down here. This ramble's being uploaded a little bit later than usual, and it's not because we're having technical difficulties. As you can see, it is sunny, it is bright. Dearly pointed out, this was the first time the sun's been out like this. Where is it? In 3 days. We're going to go ahead and see if we can start heading up that way, or maybe at least get you a better view of the deer. But we're about 3 days, maybe 4 days away from Hurricane Florence making landfall. Let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Looks like it's going to be hitting Virginia as of the last check at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we're about 4 days away. We are battening down the hatches. We're not leaving. We're 149 miles off the coast. I thought we were further away from the ocean than that, but I looked on Google Maps, so I want to make sure. And it's going to come south of us. We're in Albemarle County. Looks like the folks down in Lynchburg are going to get it. Now, that's if it stays on track. Today is also the anniversary of the attacks of September 11th, 17 years ago. So my condolences go out to everybody. I mean, we were all affected by that. I mean, it changed the course of many of our lives, some more than others. I mean, I left the brokerage industry to go into the military after those attacks, shortly after that myself. And of course, that changed things too for me. They're gone. So I have a lot going on in my mind today. Taking my son to the dentist today. He's got some dental issues. We're gonna go ahead and walk up here. And if I were to pick a theme from this ramble, it would be life goes on. You know, September 11th came and we lost 3,000 folks that day. The wars came and we lost many. Folks over in the Middle East have lost many. People around the world have continued to lose friends and family and loved ones as a result of terrorism, the war on terror, you know. A lot of us who went off and fought in the wars on terror in the Middle East came home to completely different lives than the ones we had before we left. Everything's changed, and there goes that deer. They're still standing there just inside the wood line, but they're kind of taking off now. But, you know, we've got a big hurricane coming. We're 3 or 4 days away from the hurricane making landfall. We're cautiously optimistic we're going to survive the hurricane too. And afterwards, whether, you know, there's a ton of damage, our neighbors last year lost 6 trees in a nor'easter. We might lose, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I can't predict the future, and I'm not going to try. But should we make it through, which I believe we will, life goes on. Life went on after September 11th for those of us who weren't, you know, didn't lose our lives in the attacks. Life went on for those of us who raised our hands at a time of war and said, "Take me." And those of us who made it back, life was different, but life's gone on. And what a time of reflection. Hurricanes, terrorist attacks, anniversaries. My son has, he's got a molar that just needs to be extracted. They'll probably try to talk us into having it repaired and all that stuff, so they can charge 4 times as much as just reaching in there with a pair of pliers and pulling it out. It's a baby tooth, so. But today, terrorist attacks aside, upcoming hurricanes aside, storms aside, I'm blessed and I'm grateful to have a wonderful 7-year-old little boy in my charge. I'm not grateful he has a toothache, but I'm grateful that I have the means to take care of it. I called the dentist this morning. That's another reason the ramble's late. I'm grateful that they're getting him in this afternoon. You know, we're just going to go get him, take him over there, and get this tooth fixed. And I'm grateful that after we batten up the hatches and we're hunkered down inside the house here waiting out the storm, that my little boy is not going to be in pain because we were able to get his tooth fixed here before the storm comes. So, you know, we've stocked up on food. We were already stocked up, but as I said yesterday in the ramble, my concern so much is not the hurricane itself, which I am concerned with. It looks like it's going to be the strongest hurricane in 65 years. But another danger a lot of folks overlook is the way the people will panic by way of their herd mentality. So we went out yesterday, which would have been 5 days before Hurricane Florence makes landfall. And even though we're stocked up to get through the storm, we bought a couple $100 more worth of groceries and food and batteries. We made sure to go through, pull out our flashlights, see what needed batteries. Most of our stuff is recharged. Well, our lantern's rechargeable, but if the power goes out, we can't recharge that, right? So we got batteries. We have battery operated lanterns. So we got batteries. We asked the cashier yesterday at the grocery store where we were buying these provisions if they've been hit with the pre-storm rush yet. And she said, no, only the smart ones. We said, we've had a few come in today like you guys, and we know you're trying to beat the crowds. And she said, but you're the first one to buy batteries. I said, well, the others will be back. They probably forgot them. And she said that she expects batteries to sell off the shelves. We heard people talking already about how they'd gone to Walmart, and Walmart had already sold out of bottled water. We didn't need any, but we got some anyway because I'd rather have a little more than not enough. And if we don't use it during the storm or the expected power outage, which is probably going to be prolonged for quite a while after the storm, we'll use it at some point. I mean, it's not going to spoil. It's water. I've made sure to prep up our chickens. I've been putting tons of water in empty milk jugs for them. Even though I've got the pond, I've got the creek. I'm just trying to save myself time in the future. And here's something I think a lot of folks don't think about that I'm thinking about. And as soon as I get off this phone here and start uploading this video, I'm going around the yard, around the fields, around on the porches, and I am getting anything that isn't secured to the ground, and I'm putting it in storage in the garage. And I'm going to park the car. I'm going to drive the car up to the garage doors, into the garage doors, not bash it through, but basically I'm going to secure the garage doors shut with my car. Because last year in the nor'easter, I had them secured with some pretty heavy logs I could barely lift, and the wind blew the doors open and broke some glass pane windows out. But stuff like this, here's our campfire pit. This will be going in the garage. We have furniture on the front porch. You guys probably see us sitting on when we do the taste test for when Dearly cooks things, and she's getting ready to cook some sardines now. That stuff's all going in the garage because anything that's left out that isn't tied down during these high winds will become projectiles. They will become bullets and cannons. And I mean, they could go across the field and kill the neighbor's cows, or more than likely they just end up in my pond. And I don't want my pond full of stuff. Here's one of those big, beautiful, gorgeous spiders. Check this out. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? You see the web? Look at this. All the way around, and there's the spider right there in the middle. Gosh, isn't she beautiful? Look at that. She's huge. Gorgeous. Guys, this really does look like the calm before the storm. I mean, check out this view of the homestead. It's hard to believe we're 4 days away from the most fierce hurricane in 65 years making landfall right here. But we are. Guys, I'm grateful that 4 days before the worst hurricane in 65 years making landfall, I can take the time to appreciate a beautiful spider and a beautiful web like that. That spider's still here, I'm still here, you're still here. Again, thinking about September 11th, the war, life being so different after the war, all these things. You know, it's really about surviving, isn't it? Life. The answer isn't where we end up, and that's not even so much the key. It's just all about surviving. The other night, you know, we all know that about a week ago, Burt Reynolds died. A week ago from this, as of this recording. And there's a beautiful bee sitting on the top of the phone right now watching me as I make this. And I'm grateful for that bee. A week ago, Burt Reynolds died. You know, I heard the news, we all heard the news. I thought, well, that's sad. Well, then Dearly and I decided to watch a movie about 3 nights ago. And so we went to Amazon Prime, and one of his movies was featured in Prime for free with our membership. It's called The Last Movie Star. And it's you've probably seen it, or at least you've seen the trailer. It's a movie about this old, aged movie star. Vic Edwards is his character's name in the movie. But we're watching that movie, and he gets suckered into coming to this award show that isn't really a bona fide award show. He thinks he's getting this Lifetime Achievement Award. Then he goes because he's pretty much a nobody by this point. He's washed up. Most people don't even know who he is. But it's showing flashbacks of him talking to himself in his younger days from scenes from actual Burt Reynolds movies. And they're showing Smokey and the Bandit, you know. And here's this 84-year-old Burt Reynolds filming The Last Movie Star. And then you see him in the old black Trans Am. He's out running the sheriff and Smokey and the Bandit from 1977 is when that movie was made. And I'm watching this movie, and it's not that I was ever a huge Burt Reynolds fan, because I wasn't, but I was never anti-Burt Reynolds. I was always just kind of indifferent to Burt Reynolds. But of course, I mean, I'm 44. I was a little kid when Smokey and the Bandit came out. One of his movies, The Longest Yard, was made in 1972. I was born in 73, but I saw that later in life. And then, of course, the Adam Sandler remake, in which Burt Reynolds has a role as the coach, and he comes in and scores a touchdown on the last play. It's very nostalgic. But I'll tell you guys, it broke my heart while we were watching The Last Movie Star to see this 84-year-old Burt Reynolds sitting in a car having flashbacks where he's talking to the Bandit in 1977. To see this guy in 1977, good looking, handsome, you know, every woman in America wanted him, women around the world. He just always getting away from the sheriff, and he was at the peak of his career, you know, and he was dating Sally Field, who was gorgeous in that movie, and she's gorgeous now. She's still with us. And he would go on and marry Lonnie Anderson and spend many years married with her. And they had a son, and, you know, of course, that he ended up being divorced. He went through a lot of tough times. But he makes the statement when he's talking to his younger self. You know, he's talking about, he says, I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had all the answers, you know, when I was Smokey, 1977, on top of the world, on top of my career. And he looks back now and he realized he didn't have nothing figured out. But what he's come to realize is that it's all about survival. It's not, you know, they say it's not the destination, it's the journey. And to make it on the journey, you got to survive. It's just all about survival. So, you know, we those of us who are here, me talking and you listening, we survived September 11th, the attacks. Those of us who went off to the war and came back, we survived the war. And to those of us who came home to lives that bear no resemblance to the lives we had before we left for war, we survived that too. We got the worst hurricane in 65 years coming, and we're going to survive it. I'm going to go do a few things here, batten down the hatches, get some of this stuff moved into the garage, get it secured up. And then I'm going to go get my little boy, who is a great blessing, greatest blessing in my life today, him and his mother. And he's gonna have to have a tooth pulled at the dentist, and it's going to be the first time he's had this done. He'll survive. He'll survive. Life's going to go on. We're going to continue to make videos, upload videos, and transmit to you guys while we can. We expect that we're going to be safe, but we also expect the power is going to go out, the internet's going to go out, and it's probably going to stay out for a long time here in a few days. So if you don't hear from us for a few days, don't panic. Keep us in your thoughts and prayers. We're going to survive. We survived a lot so far. We're going to survive some more, because we're survivors. So, I'm going to give you a parting shot on Homestead. We'll see you with more next time.